Thank you for joining us. This is the Nikki Maduro Show. I'm Nikki Maduro without COVID. She's Kim McAllister without COVID. Joe Biden still has COVID. So we'll be following it. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up. Like, comment, support the show any way you can. Joe Biden is apparently receptive. That's the word, Kim McAllister, that's being used right now behind closed doors. Now that Chuck Schumer has added his name to the list, had a strong conversation with Joe Biden. So my sister-in-law, she posted something online. Okay. And again, I'm not surprised by this. I'm going to show this to you. I am in no way, shape, or form at all surprised when I saw this, because again, when people are like, the president is held to such high esteem, this is what Donald Trump did after his assassination. Can you imagine, like, Abraham Lincoln?
Wait, are those Trump shoes? Fight, 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 it says on the bottom.
This is what he's doing. Donald Trump is selling high tops for $300 with his face on it saying, fight, fight, fight.
And the fist in the air.
And the fist in the air.
This looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, my friend, he's capitalizing on his assassination attempt. Is that right?
Apparently a bonus 10 will randomly be autographed. So he's involved in some sort of way. Limited edition sneakers signed by President Donald J. Trump. These are Trump sneakers. You can see them. Trump and Associated Designs, trademarked by CIC Ventures. Distributed or sold by Donald. They are not designed. Trump sneakers are not designed, manufactured, distributed, or sold by Donald J. Trump, the Trump organization, or any of their respective affiliates or principals. They're not associated, but I can't imagine him autographing them.
I'm not getting a take.
Right. But anyways, I mean, it doesn't matter. The fact that his likeness and his autograph is going to even be on 10 of them is so effing gross to me. Like, at the very least, it's a cult again, right? We talked yesterday about people putting a maxi pad or a piece of paper on the ear, right? Like, it's so weird. And so anyway, so my sister-in-law puts this on her Facebook page. And so I'm just reading some of the comments, and it's funny. And then I'm reading some of these comments, and then they start talking about Biden, right? And what's going to happen. And people are like, I don't know what I'm going to do. All this sorts of thing. And my sister-in-law is like, well, she should have been groomed. She should have been groomed for the position like Joe was. Maybe we wouldn't be in this position because people don't think she's qualified. And so I wrote to my sister-in-law and I said, what would grooming look like? The vice president position traditionally supports the president's agenda, which she has done time and again. She makes media rounds. She meets international leaders. She's hated on, in my opinion, for racist and sexist reasons. The bar for Biden and Harris is so freaking high, and Trump just needs to keep breathing. Like, that's it.
Can I say, with COVID, that's a question mark.
Right.
Can I say, though, that Kamala Harris has been sent and given more tasks than your average vice president? She was sent to the border to deal with immigration.
Right.
She was sent on the rounds to talk about women's reproductive rights.
Exactly.
Usually you see a vice president, they kind of, they're
like
ceremonial. They're just waiting in the wings. She's actually given tasks that matter. So what exactly are you wanting from her?
Right. And this whole idea of like, well, she should be groomed. She's right there. Like, she's literally right there. And this whole idea of like, she's not qualified. I mean, go back in history when we're talking about vice presidents and the fact that, Mike Pence wasn't chosen for Donald Trump's running mate again. Now, I will grant it. There's a gap, right? Donald Trump is free to choose another running mate. It's not like he ran back to back, right? And of course, Mike Pence, not, of course, feeding into the election lie and kind of betraying Donald Trump. Of course, Donald Trump was not going to choose Mike Pence again. But then choosing J.D. Vance, Trump 2.0, is absolutely ridiculous. And so I'm so pissed. And again, I'm not going to go into like I did yesterday, but it just seems to me Kamala Harris is as qualified as any other vice presidential candidate. This is the Biden-Harris administration. And if Biden decides to step down, Kamala Harris steps in. That is what we voted for in 2020. Period. And a story. Like, the conversation's over.
I'm interested to hear what her response to you was, because I feel like
she hasn't responded yet.
This is a talking point almost because of the lack of experience that JD Vance has.
Oh God, yes.
He's a junior senator. He's been in office for not very long.
A freshman senator, right? It's his first time being a senator.
That's right.
it. He's a freshman senator. And again, people are going to throw Barack Obama up there.
Yeah, but I did earlier, and Mark Thompson reminded me that Barack Obama had extensive experience when you talk about grassroots organizing and organizing people, and that type of experience came into play, which is great. What other experience does JD Vance has? He was a U.S. Marine. I'll give him that. Okay. And then he's been in the Senate for not very long. No. So this is what they have to do. Right?
Yes, exactly.
If it's a race between vice presidents, because you got two old dudes, then you're looking at all the stats on the vice presidents matter. Do they have experience? Who are they? What are they about? And so maybe this is the way to fight Kamala Harris, who does have experience as a prosecutor and the attorney general of the state of California. Experience as a senator from the state of California, experience as the vice president, the district attorney in San Francisco. Exactly. She's been in public service for a long time. So maybe this is the only way they can fight back, by somehow downgrading her experience and saying she's not ready because she wasn't groomed to be president, which that word bothers me anyway. So I know
the whole grooming thing. And again, people, and the reason why I bring up the sexist thing is because people will always be like, oh, she got on her knees for Willie Brown and blah, 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 blah. God. And it minimizes any of the work, as if politics and business in general hasn't been an old boys club for as long as I can remember. You men, and I'm going to use the biggest broad brush I can have, it's been a handshake, a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This is my son. And that is the only effing qualification he's ever had since the dawn of effing time. So please give me a break. If a woman had to use any way she could, any sort of comeuppance that she did. I had to work in some guy's office, and maybe, she had to work her way up. And she didn't. So what? She dated Willie Brown. You know what? So what? She dated Willie Brown for a freaking heartbeat. So what? Like, it doesn't matter. That doesn't minimize any of the hard work she ever did. And the fact that a woman could work her ass off for decades, and because she dated a man for a heartbeat minimizes everything else, is sexist. It is completely sexist, and it just pisses me off. It really, really does.
Women will be downgraded by reducing their accomplishments to sexuality and who they dated. Exactly. I remember when Hillary Clinton was running, people would say, oh, well, she's only a senator. She only was a secretary of state. She only was running because she was married to Bill Clinton.
Right.
As if she didn't have her own brain and her own skills and her own education and her own worthiness.
Exactly. And she didn't do her own work. Okay, so I found this great article in the Chronicle. Okay, so Harris was, like you mentioned, a San Francisco DA, the California Attorney General, and a U.S. Senator. All elected, by the way, positions. In the Senate, Harris was a member of the Judiciary, Intelligence, and Homeland Security Committees. That's obviously a big deal.
Where she kicked ass. Do you remember those panels that she was on?
Exactly. Now let's compare. Dan Quayle, okay, little known congressman from Indiana. Al Gore was a member of the House and then the Senate from Tennessee. Dick Cheney served in the House for about a decade. Let's see. According to the Chronicle, the most distinguished vice president was Joe Biden, who lasted 36 years in the Senate. So, Harris is up there as far as qualifications with all of these other people. So, give me a freaking break. If you want to throw Willie Brown and diminish all of her accomplishments because of who she dated at the freaking beginning of her career, screw you. Like, it just sucks. Like, it just really
the
sucks.
bummer about that is I feel like women can be catty. And instead of circling our women wagons and lifting her up,
exactly.
Sometimes women are like, ew, she dated him, or she slept her way to the top, or she did this. And we don't need that right now. What we need is women to go, you know what? We're not going to tolerate it anymore.
Right.
We're not going to tolerate the downgrading because of that. We want to look at what she's done.
Right.
Show me what she's done. And that's what I'll base my vote on.
And you know what? I mean, and we can
or my
be catty.
opinion of her on.
You want me to be catty? Kim, I can be catty. What the F has Kimberly Guilfoyle done? Right? I mean, what have you done? You dated Don Jr. and Gavin Newsom. What have you done? I mean, I can diminish all of her accomplishments to the men she's dated, and she's done other things. But no, it doesn't matter. All you did, Kimberly Guilfoyle, if I'm going to diminish you, is date Gavin Newsom and Don Jr. There, I've done it. So it can go.
She
we
went
can
to
go
law
tit for tat.
school. I'll give her that.
No. We can't talk about any of her accomplishments. And then she went on Fox
News, and then she wore short skirts and commented on stuff.
But I'm just saying, like, that's what. How does it feel if it's reversed? That's what I mean. You know what I mean?
I agree.
That's the problem. Is, and of course, I don't care for Kimberly Guilfoyle. Like, whatever, we differ in politics, but it doesn't feel good, Republicans, does it? It doesn't feel good when the roles are reversed. So let's just stop it. Damn it. Kamala Harris has experience and she can hold her own. And I will also tell you this. She has a very thick skin. I really don't think, I'm sure it bothers her in some sense, but I really don't think that Kamala Harris won't go toe to toe with JD frickin' Vance in whatever debate that it is, or Donald Trump, if that's what it ends up being. Because not only has she been dealing with this crap her entire career, like, she's also a woman and a woman of color. So she's gotten it in so many different directions that I'm sure
she's used to it by now.
She'll be just fine. She'll be just fine.
She is the antithesis of what a Republican Party person would want to see in a woman.
Exactly.
She is someone of color. She's achieved great success in her life. She's extremely well educated, probably smarter than most of them, and childless.
Yes, that is true. That is very, very true. Exactly. Do we know why? And not that it matters. And I'm not saying it matters at all. What I mean, I'm assuming it's by choice. I don't know. Do we know? Has she ever said anything?
She married a guy who already had kids, and she became a stepmom to them.
There we go.
And a wonderful stepmother, and they all like her. And so I don't know what her choices were or why, but that's the way it is.
There we go.
You know, I mean, and it doesn't matter. She could have suffered fertility issues, or she could have just said, you know what, I have kids. I'm happy with that, and I want to focus on my career. They're almost grown. We don't want to start again, because I can imagine.
I know that feeling.
Imagine that she marries a guy that has teenagers. Does he want an infant? Because that's like re-rack and start over again. Exactly. Here come the diapers.
No,
I get it.
You.
No.
Heck no. I mean, speaking of that, just a side story. You know what I just did today? I just signed my daughter up for driver's courses.
Oh, my God.
Watch out, people. Watch out. You know what I just realized, Kim? And my daughter and I were just talking about this. In less than a year, like this coming school year, I don't have to take her to school or pick her up. Like, by the end of the school year, she will be taking herself to and from school.
Wow.
By the end of the school year. It kind of gets me a little misty. And then part of me is like, she will be taking her school. I won't have to take my son to high school. That blows my mind.
Yep.
Isn't that just insane? Just a side note about kids.
It is crazy.
Isn't that crazy? That's crazy to me.
I will still have to cart everybody around because Julia turns 15 at the end of this month.
Okay.
So she won't be 16 until the middle of July of next year.
Oh,
which means I've got a whole nother year of driving her around.
So my daughter turned 16 in February. So she's very, very excited. Watch out, world. There's a mini me. There's a mini me on the road. But she's so funny. Like, we're going over the rules. I'm like, you can't drive at night. She's like, oh, I don't think I'll ever drive at night. I was like, okay. Like, we're going to bring it down a notch. But I couldn't. I was signing it up. I was like, oh, my goodness gracious. Oh, my God.
So do you have to buy her a car? What are you going to do?
No, we're sharing.
Okay.
I mean, we have an extra car because my husband drives a work truck.
A work vehicle.
So, you know, we have his truck that his Dodge. And then I have my Prius. So she could take my Prius and I could drive the Dodge.
It's kind of my thought. Julia's thinking, she's like, she'll send me pictures of cars because
Oh
she's
yeah.
already thinking ahead.
Yeah.
She wants a Jeep. She's going to
But
get a Jeep.
no, get a Jeep. Jeeps
She's going to
suck.
get a
They
Ford
suck
Bronco.
so
She's
bad.
going to get all these wonderful,
No.
she wants a convertible, like all these cars. And I'm thinking,
Nope.
see that ratty old RAV4 in the
Exactly.
driveway? That's what you're going to be driving, and you're going to be lucky to drive it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I told him, like, you got to get a job. So my daughter's babysitting, you know, and I was like, you better start saving that money, because if you think you're coming to me for gas money, I mean,
Right.
love my Prius, and you will learn very quickly that you want a Prius better than dad's gas guzzling truck, because that's
Right.
buku bucks. But if you think, in addition to the bump in my insurance, I'm paying for your gas,
Right.
no. Got to get a job, got to do all those things. But the milestones are happening very, very quickly.
The
And
Sweet
it's a bit
16 is coming.
Oh, and
my
she,
goodness.
the plans for you'd think we were Mexican. You would think we were Mexican, that she was planning a quinceañera. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. I was like, dude, it's not a mini wedding. I mean, I get the tradition with the quinceañera. We're not Mexican. We're Italian and Puerto Rican. We don't do those things. And I mean, but she's got it. We are going to have a ball, and I'm like, bring it down, dude. Like, what do you think? Oh, she's got big plans.
Are you going to rent out a hall? Are you going to do the whole thing?
No. She's
I saw her walk behind you. I knew there was a shadow that somebody was coming. Hi, Marley. Look how cute she is.
I know. No. So you do have big plans for your Sweet 16. Is that correct?
Yes, I
Ask
do.
her what her dream
wanna hear
16
them?
party is.
Okay. So describe for our viewers what she's getting comfortable. Okay. Okay. You have to get closer to the microphone if you want people to hear you.
I'm getting the.
Oh, she has to open the notes app on her phone. Kim, she has this plan.
I have dress codes. I have food plans.
She has a color. She like literally, she thinks she has a quinceañera, and I'm like, no, this isn't happening. But
It is.
okay.
This is very inexpensive.
Oh, she thinks it's inexpensive.
is.
She has no concept of
I've already
money.
talked to my father about
Okay.
this.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay,
The
go ahead.
theme from
theme.
pop. I've had my friends vote on this.
Okay,
The
voting.
theme is pink and silver.
Pink and silver theme. Okay, go ahead.
This
Keep
is
going. Just
very
laundry
nice.
list it.
Dress code. Everyone else is gonna be wearing white, so then I can wear pink
Okay.
because then I want to be like special.
Mm-hmm.
I need a candy table,
Okay.
and then I have like things for like I don't know what the food's gonna be yet. I need a root beer float bar because for the past like 4 years I've had root beer floats instead of cake because I don't like cake. I like root beer floats.
I agree. I don't like cake either.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Blah, blah, blah. And then I have a fat invite list.
Oh, and a big.
A big invite list.
How many
many
people do you think
people
you
are
want
on
to
the
invite?
list?
Well, I just have like family and family friends right now because I don't know who my friends are gonna be next year.
She's like, I don't know how many people are going to be on my op list.
The
Okay.
op list. I had to count.
Smart
them.
high school decisions. That's
Okay.
right.
Thank you. I
Wow.
love you. Very
Aw.
good. Watch out. Okay, thank you. So that's my daughter. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see who makes the list. Kim McAllister. We'll see.
I
But
love
yeah.
her. You know what Julia wants?
Mm.
Nothing.
For her Sweet 16.
How sad is that? Doesn't like to be celebrating her birthday. She gets this from my husband. She doesn't want her birthday celebrated. She doesn't want a big deal
Aw.
made. She'll send me a couple items that she might want, and she would rather have me spend money on a new pair of shoes than a party
Hey,
or a car.
I would say that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
count your blessings, sweetheart. You know what I
No,
mean?
because I love a birthday celebration. I
know.
love the fun part of it. And I got a birthday boo-hooer.
Yeah, you got like my sister-in-law that I was talking about earlier. She doesn't like when anybody like the restaurant singing birthday. If you do
Right.
that to her, she gets up and leaves.
Yeah.
She's pissed at you. She's not one of those people at all. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like in the middle. Like I like the whole celebration. It's not a huge deal. I feel like if you build it up too much, you're setting yourself up for
Yeah.
disappointment. So we'll see. But she needs to tone it down a bit. You know what I mean? Like I could do the root beer
have the
bar and a
opposite
candy
thing
table is
happening.
fine. Can we find a happy medium? But yeah, the whole driving and just putting it in perspective that in February, like so August, she'll be 15 and a half. That's why I was like I'm like, you need to start studying so you can get your behind the wheel and get your permit and all that kind of stuff. And then she's going to turn 16. I remember being 16, 16th birthday, keys, deuces. I am out. Like the freedom involved in that. And I was never home.
I failed the driver's
never
test
home.
the first time I
Oh,
took
I
it.
aced it. There was
I was
no
at the
way in hell I was
Capitola
staying home.
DMV and they took me around Capitola, and they have the dips in the road.
Yeah.
I thought you're supposed to slow down for the dips. Apparently,
Yeah.
they're like stop signs. You're supposed to stop before the
Stop.
dip and then proceed cautiously. So here I
No.
am.
Boom,
Boom, boom,
boom,
boom, boom, boom.
boom.
And the guy's like, okay, go back to the DMV, honey. You're done.
You failed. You failed. You're like, no, I didn't practice the
Like, oh,
dips.
I didn't practice the dip. The dips are what got me.
Well, obviously, your behind the wheel instructor failed to teach you about the dips.
That was my dad.
You didn't do the behind the wheel. You're supposed to have behind the wheel instruction.
No, my dad taught me how to drive.
Well, that was your first mistake.
Well, he's
That
a
was your
pretty
first
good driver.
Well,
I remember the first time he put me in the car, we were moving from Scotts Valley to Aptos, and he put me behind the wheel in the moving van truck.
oh, geez.
So I'm driving a big vehicle for the first time I've ever
No.
driven. And we're on the freeway on Highway 1. And I'm like, I've got one wheel in the weed patch the entire time.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
It's all part of growing up is learning one. I mean, I would love my daughter to also learn how to drive a stick shift. My husband, once you tell him about cars, now he's on like Facebook Marketplace looking at all these old cars. I'm like, well, I guess we have to also teach her how to drive a stick shift if she's going to learn to drive any of these things, which I would love my child to learn how to drive. Although her first car is probably going to be an automatic, but still, I'm so excited.
Aren't they not making stick shifts anymore? Like that's being phased out.
It is, but if you buy him an old, if you buy him a VW bus or if you buy him an old car, they're going to be a stick shift. You know what I mean?
The problem with this, mom to mom. When you buy an old car, it doesn't come with all the safety stuff, like the airbags and all the. And so when you have a new driver, I'm concerned about safety. I want them to have like as new a vehicle as possible to have all the safety standards, but not so new that I'll care if they ding it up.
That's true. That is very, very, very true. Yeah. I mean, she's going to be driving my Prius. I mean, if anybody's getting a new car, Kim, it's going to be me. It's going to be. And again, I just want another Prius, in all honesty. I just want something that's not going to be a gas guzzler. Absolutely. That's what I want.
Don't want another car payment.
Oh, yes.
No.
That's true. That's true as well. All right, let's do another story that has nothing to do with any politics. Or anything else.
We digress. Yes.
Let's digress. Okay. Yeah. How about this? What's in a name? Okay. When we're talking about names, I think it's important to keep things in mind, right? So I think it's really funny. I follow this Facebook page called, I think it's called like Against a Modern Farmhouse, where it's like the live, laugh, love people, right? Like we're against the modern farmhouse look in the houses and all that sorts of things. And it's like Kayleigh, Kayleigh, like it draws out the whole name type of thing. But then you can kind of bring the race type thing into it, right? So if the name sounds ethnic, whether it's Indian or African American or Asian even, whatever, sometimes it doesn't work. Well, there was this guy, and I'm surprised by the name, who tried this experiment where he had a lot of experience in the luxury hotel business. Okay. Now he's in Detroit, Michigan, and he kept applying for all these jobs. He was applying. And he's like, I wasn't getting any responses. And so he decided to change his name. And I think he decided to change his name to John. Okay.
Okay.
But his first name was Dwight. Now, I don't really feel like Dwight.
Was it D apostrophe?
No.
W-I-G-H-T?
Dwight. Just D-W-I-G-H-T.
Okay,
I'm going to play you a little bit of his name was Dwight Jackson. Now, maybe it was the Jackson to get like Dwight Jackson together sounded black. I'm going to play you a little bit of this interview he gave on CNN, kind of telling the story about what he did. Here we go.
It was so much experience in the hotel industry and luxury hotels at that, historical hotels of downtown Detroit. And for me to not at least get a call back, the one call back as Dwight Jackson, it made me a little disparaging of like why. So that's what just made me fill it out at John Jabrowski to see what kind of answers I get. And like you said, I ended up getting a call that same week.
And what did they say when they called back and they wanted to speak with John?
The HR lady called me. She said, "Hello, this is John. at first I forgot that I even did it. I'm like, oh yeah, I am John. She liked me and liked the experience I had, and she just sorry, my apologies. She also did an interview the next time. We set up an interview for the next time for an over the phone interview. Then after that, we did an in-person interview. I ended up getting another call for another interview.
And so you got another call for another interview at the same hotel.
Yes.
Okay, so let me come back to that. John, let me come to you now. You say that you see a lot of this.
Yeah, I see this all the time. It's unfortunate. I've been doing civil rights my whole career. They're very tough cases because there's often circumstantial evidence. There's not direct proof. When a company discriminates, they don't come out and say it. And some of it's unconscious bias, some of it's conscious. But I've had cases where I've had a hiring manager say that the president of the company made a black pile of resumes and everybody else, and then taken the resumes that sound like they're black sounding names and throw them in the trash can. So this happens all the time. I think it's underreported.
Dwight, what?
Now let me stop. And that's obviously you can kind of read between the lines and see what happens there. Here's my question to you, Kim, though. Is there ever an excuse for something like this where you, and again, I'm not going to get into the legalities of this. Okay. I'm not going to get into the legalities because I'm assuming it's not legal. Can you look at an application and somebody's name is just difficult to pronounce for whatever reason, and you're like, I don't want my customers to have to pronounce that name.
No, but I don't have customers. I guess we do, but you know, technically, but I've never had that feeling. As a matter of fact, my husband works with a lot of people who are of Indian descent, and their names can be, for someone who doesn't speak that language or is not accustomed to seeing those letters together, complicated and long.
Right.
And I try to pronounce them, and he'll help me because he's good at it now, you know? And so I kind of look at it as a challenge to try to get it right. I like to get it right. I want to conquer that name, because if I do that, then when I see a name that's similar coming through the news desk, I'm probably going to get it right. Yes. But in this case, I agree with you. The only people I've known in my life who've been named Dwight have been old white dudes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
and
of
why couldn't John be a black guy?
Exactly.
I don't understand that.
Well, Jabrowski sounds like, what is that like? Jabrowski, what is ski? Like ski is like it's not Greek, it's like what is ski? Ski is like not Dutch. It's like one of those Europeans. I feel like a ski is like a European name. I thought it was funny that
Eisenhower.
Dwight Clark. Dwight Clark is a white guy. Dwight from The Office. He's a white guy.
I had a very good friend's dad named Dwight, total white guy. He was an airline pilot. So I don't know,
sounds like
but
a white name.
I'm not discounting that. And perhaps if you live in Michigan, where there may be more of a racial divide in that particular area, they're looking for things like that, or they're assuming that this name is commonly more oftenly associated with a certain race. I don't know. But I like the guy. Stupid. Just when they interviewed him, I would love him behind a front desk at a hotel.
I
think he's great.
Names are such a weird thing to discriminate against. You know what I mean? Like, but I also find discrimination in and of itself a weird thing.
Right.
Although I'm not gonna say that I've never either, unintentionally been biased against someone. I think everybody has that implicit bias or whatever. Like unintentionally, everyone makes those split second decisions about somebody when you look at somebody or you hear somebody or whatever, right? Everybody does that. You have those split second decisions that you make about somebody when you encounter them. But on a job application, right? It's just kind of like you look at a name. How are you supposed to know whether or not they're going to be good, bad, or whatever? It's just a name. And I'm wondering if there's a solution to that. Can we just do numbers or something like that?
There have been studies that have shown that people that do have ethnic sounding names don't get called back as much for job interviews and suffer economically. If you knew that as a mom, whatever race you may be, would you name your child an ethnically sounding name? If you were a white woman,
But are you
would
supposed to
name
whitewash your name and culture out of it just because of that?
What if my favorite name was Latoya?
Okay.
Okay. That's my
Okay.
favorite name in the world. And I love that name. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it rolls off the tongue. I like the capital
Right.
letters in the middle. I love the way it's spelled.
Okay.
But I know that if I name my child that, people will think she's of a different race.
Right.
So does it matter then that I like the name if I'm going to affect her livelihood down the road?
Right. I mean, I think that
Or do I
everybody thinks
say,
of that.
F you and I don't care, I'm going to pick the name I like? And if I'm of a different race, I might be thinking to myself, because of the way the world is and because of the systemic racism, screw that. That's not going to control my decision on what I name my kid.
Right.
That my culture and my identity is more important than anything else you can throw at me, and we're going to change it. We're not going to just shove it under the rug.
Right. I mean, I think it matters. I think the weight of a name and what it can mean, especially over time, matters. And for instance, the name ISIS, right? Before the terror attacks, right? I think it was a god, or right?
Yeah.
It meant something different.
An
And then
Egyptian god.
Right. And then all of a sudden there's terror attacks, and you would never name your kid, or some people would never name their kid ISIS, right? I think some people would never name their kid Adolf for certain reasons, right?
No,
or
that's a no.
right?
Because
Yeah.
it has a connotation
Because
with
it has a
history that
connotation.
no one wants to be linked with.
Right.
Yeah.
And so and I'm not saying, so I think that some people would look at it the same way with, I don't want to put on a child any sort of burden, whether intentional or not,
Right.
because why do that to them?
Right.
It may not be fair. It may not be just. It may totally be racist, sexist, whatever. But why even have that be a problem in their life? Let's make it easy, right? Other people will be like, how do we break the stigma of something if I don't start it? So I guess it could be either camp, right? Like, do you want to lead the way and be like, screw history and this means a god, and I'm not going to let these people ruin it. I'm going to lead the way in changing it. Or are you like, nah, it's going to stick and I'm not going to be part of that?
I tend to fall into and I get what you're saying, but I tend to fall into the category of be who you are. I mean,
Right.
because otherwise you're saying that, okay, if you have a Jewish sounding last name, then you should change that so that no one knows you're, of a certain,
Right.
I don't know, historical ancestry, whatever. If my name sounds too Scottish, that I should change that if people have that. At some point you just have to be who you are and figure it out. And
Of course.
if people aren't going to want you because of your name, then you didn't really want them anyway. Screw that and screw them.
Right. Well, I just saw this and I was trying to find it when you were talking. I saw this. It was a video. It was actually really interesting. It was the popularity, baby names, the popularity of the name gay. And I mean, it was one of the most popular names for a long time. And then all of a sudden, when it was tied to the LGBTQ community and all that, I mean, it has plummeted. And now nobody basically names their baby gay. Like, it's just not a thing. I mean, it's like, it's on the graph, it was at 0. I don't know if there's 1 or 2, but it was like flatlined, right? And so it's one of those things, like, you could name your baby gay because it can mean, obviously it can mean happy and all sorts of things, right?
Sure.
But people don't do that anymore because everybody also knows that it could also mean a slur, which is stupid, right?
Well,
like,
it's the same thing that you do when you sit, I don't care what your ethnicity is. When you sit down and you look at baby names, you think to yourself, what could the nickname be?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if the nickname is not one that you like or something that could be, construed as something bad,
Yeah.
then you shy away from that name.
Yeah, I was going to name Dylan. I was going to, when James and I were going over names, I was this close to making Danger Dylan's middle name. And because I thought it was funny. And then I thought to myself, no, because then there's like going to be this desire to live up to it. And then I'd be like, no, that's stupid. So I was like, yeah, we're not going to do anything silly like that. So I was like, don't do that.
No. And, I think that's your prerogative. People are going to do what they're going to do. But I think we're careful with, most people are often careful with names.
Yeah.
Some people are trendy, but a lot of people are really careful
But
as far as,
the whole Dwight thing, I thought that was just so
weird.
shocking and so weird. And again, it's this idea of you have to be, and also this idea of, oh, why does race matter? We need to stop talking about race in this country. And it's like, no, because it's still there. And I don't think that ignoring it solves the problem. I really do think you got to call these things out, because if you don't, then it's just going to keep happening and just keep happening. Can I throw one more quick story out there?
Please,
because
bring it.
It happened this week, and it was so crazy. And it had to do with this NFL star, Terrell Davis. He's a Hall of Famer, okay? He was on this airline flight. This is an insane story. So he's on this airline flight, and what's really funny is it started in a way that I think every parent can totally relate to. So imagine you're on an airline and your kids, they're on their iPads, right? And the flight attendant is coming by with the drinks, right? And the kids have their iPads on. I don't know if the kids had the headphones on or whatever, but they couldn't hear the flight attendant asking for the kids' drink order, okay? So I'm going to play a little bit of this news report, but that's kind of how it starts.
Beverage service starts, and the gentleman pulls up, and I'm reading a magazine. My kids are playing with their iPads, so I heard him ask, like, what do you want? Like, beverage, what do you want? And they were busy playing with the iPad, so they didn't respond. And I remember the tone got a little bit more aggressive. And I was thinking, man, that was kind of rude for him to ask my kids like that. So they got startled. They ordered their drinks. And I remember this, he puts the drinks down on the tray, but with force. Like he just kind of slams them down. They say, thank you. He doesn't say anything. So I was like, all right, whatever. So he asked me my order. I gave him my order. Again, kind of slams the drink down. And again, I'm thinking, well, what is going on with this guy? But whatever. As he gives me my drink, he starts to move the cart. And my son says, excuse me, might I have some ice? And he obviously didn't hear my son ask for ice. So he moved the cart probably past my seat. And so my hand was up like, excuse me. And then I finally said, excuse me, can I get some ice? I just tapped him on the shoulder. He swings his arm back and said, don't hit me. And I'm like, dude, I didn't hit you. And then he
if that guy hits you, you're going to know.
Exactly, right?
He leaves the cart right there. And the gentleman in front of me turns around and says, I saw everything. I saw that. Like why did you didn't hit him? I'm like, of course I didn't hit him. So as I'm sitting there on the plane, it was bizarre because he's up there for a couple of minutes. And again, I was like, whatever. So I started reading the magazine.
So you don't think anything of it?
Nothing of it.
Nothing of it. Okay. So I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, because what happens after this is it's insane. And again, I want to remind you as I'm playing this, what we were talking about race, because just imagine, I don't know, everybody is sitting there in their own race and their own kind of perspective. But if this, this is the story, this is the whole story. If this happened to you,
big as daylight, can't miss it.
Yeah. Okay.
FBI, I believe it was Orange County Sheriff Department.
now they're still sitting on the plane.
Guys with green. I didn't know who they were at the time, but you can tell it was
Law enforcement.
Law enforcement. Without explaining to me why they were doing it. They walk up to me and the guy he whispers in my ear. He says, "Don't fight it," and he puts cuffs on me
While he's still
while I'm sitting down.
With everybody still on the plane.
Everybody's on the
Everyone was
plane.
He never introduced, acknowledged or confirmed that it was Terrell.
Or say, hey, here's why. Here's what
why
happened.
we're doing
Think about
this,
that.
or
Nothing.
can I ask what happened? He just walked straight up to him and placed hands.
And what was it like for you, Tamika, to see your husband in handcuffs?
Gee.
I thought it was a joke, because what else could it be? And I saw the agents come on. So of course it caught my attention like everyone else. And they just walked straight up to Terrell and just played. And so I jumped out of my seat and I said, wait a minute, like what's going on? And I hopped over the woman next to me And I went to, and I was kind of like to Terrell, are you joking? Like, is this a practical, is this a prank? Like, and he just said quietly, no, it's not. And I'm looking at my sons who are sitting right next to him, watching their dad being handcuffed. And what could we do? And I'm asking them, what is going on? Like, why are you doing this? Why? And they pick him, have him stand up and pull him out. So I go after him and he's telling me to stop. And then I'm standing there. The kids are still sitting in their seat. Everyone's staring at us.
It was just.
And the children are ages 9 to 13?
Yeah, 13. Our sons are 13 and 11. Our daughter is 9. No one helped me. Yeah. No, they came back. They asked for a jacket to drape over Terrell's wrist. I said, can we get off the plane?
So basically, they lead him off the plane. They interview him. They determine that the flight attendant was wrong, right? They say the FBI did not provide details, but acknowledged responding to the flight, said one individual was detained for questioning, was cooperative and released. Davis said the agents determined the flight attendant was wrong in his accusations and apologized. But now imagine this. Now imagine that was you. And he can't and the thing was, in the interview was so long, I just didn't want to waste too much time with it. But he's like, I have to stay calm in front of my kids.
Yep.
Because again, the whole race thing, because he has to be, because he's taught to be, because you can't be angry at officers. Because black men are raised in America that when a cop tells you don't fight it, you put your arms out, you put the cuffs on, and you walk with them. And that's why we still talk about race in this country, because that's still happening.
That's really, really scary.
That's insane.
And you ask, what would you think if it happened to you? And it wouldn't, because the flight attendant wouldn't treat me the same way.
No. He would have been yes.
They might think I was the B word if I was snotty.
Do you think they would have called the cops?
I don't know. Maybe
the FBI they're gonna call the marshal and be like, when this plane lands, bring the FBI on because he tapped me on the effing shoulder.
I'll tell you what, if an FBI agent says, please put your hands in the cuffs, I'm willingly doing it and going along to try to figure it out, because I know that we'll get to the end, get to the heart of the matter. But I don't know that if I'm of a different race.
Right. It's exactly. And it's just so sad. Like, and he's a Hall of Famer. I don't think that the flight attendant had any idea who Terrell Davis was. He played with the Broncos. But it's just,
well, and
I don't
imagine
know.
For a police officer to walk up to someone who is of color, is a really big man, is very muscular, and probably physically intimidating. And Davis probably knows that he has to temper his actions and the way he speaks because of his size. So he's got all these things working against him here.
Yeah. But also, like, the impact on those kids now. This is a moment these kids will never forget. It is not a throwaway moment. It's not an oops. If I saw my dad arrested, that moment would stay with me for the rest of my life. And if I was a kid of color, that they've had the talk, right? I mean, it's not a movie scene. And then they see their dad, an NFL Hall of Famer, makes good money, and it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter how successful you are. It doesn't matter how much money you make, how many rings you have. It doesn't matter, because a flight attendant who's a little pissy because of how your kid talked to them can call law enforcement, and you can be in handcuffs like that. And that sucks.
The only positive I can come up with is that if a kid had the talk, but maybe they come from a family with money, and they don't necessarily take it seriously, they do now. And that maybe seeing what happened to their dad could save them from a worse situation down the road. That's the only positive I can come up with that. But I was feeling emotional about it before the wife even started to cry.
Exactly. I can't even imagine, but I just had to throw that out there. It is just too awful. All right. Well, I don't want to end on a down note. It is Friday. So if you think the world is going to hell in a handbasket, you can be prepared. Are you ready for this, Kim? I'm going to play this for you. If you are trying to prepare for the end of times, Costco is making it a lot easier for you to prepare.
Costco has an apocalypse ready. A dinner kit that is going viral.
And you'll see why. The emergency food
There
supply
you
bucket is made by ReadyWise. It contains 150 servings of freeze-dried food, including pasta Alfredo, potato pot pie, and teriyaki rice. It also includes snacks like granola, vanilla pudding, and an orange drink mix. I'm hungry. The bucket costs $79.99. It's supposed to have a shelf life of up to 25 years.
There you go. 25 years, Kim McAllister.
25
You too.
years? How
Okay,
much did they say it was?
It cost $79 for 25 years.
Oh,
That's
that's
not
worth
that bad. That's
Yeah,
not that
it's-
bad.
It
So,
sounds
you
better than
know.
MREs, although who really knows what's inside? Does anyone really open the bucket before they really need it and
No.
realize like
It's all
what's
just
really
dust.
in there? It's
just
probably
dust.
disgusting.
Do you have MREs at your house? Because I have a ton
Yeah,
of MREs at my
we
house.
have MREs.
too.
That's my
Yeah,
husband
yeah,
ordered.
that's-
Former Marine, he orders
Exactly.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Old military wives. There you
Uh-huh.
go. You'll definitely have that. All right,
Yeah.
you guys, that is our show. Let's hope and pray the world doesn't go to hell in a handbasket. So before it does, click that thumbs up button. Make sure you have subscribed, like, comment. We go back and read the comments and appreciate each and every one of you for being here. The super chat is also live as well. Please support the show. It's how we keep it going. Go to thenikkimadoroshow.com. Hit that Patreon link. It's just one time a month, and we really do appreciate it so much. You can also PayPal us. Just go to paypal.com, hit that send button, and send your donations to the Nikki Maduro Show at gmail.com, the Nikki Maduro Show at gmail.com, and support our sponsor, Auntie Tabby's Island Flavors. Try her guava barbecue sauce. It's delicious. If you like it hot, you could try her hot sauces. There's a hibiscus and a pineapple hot sauce that are to die for. But make sure you use the coupon code NICKKIM. That's NIKKIM. And if you do, you get 10% off each and every time you order. Look at Dan, look at Jim. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. And thank you all for being here each and every day. All right, have a fabulous weekend. We'll see you on the flip side. Bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. Miss Brown, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.